what's going on, everybody? So, something you may not know about me on a, I guess you would say, professional level or on a more personal level is I work with computers and technology and people on a daily basis. So, you're probably thinking, well, of course, you have a YouTube channel that deals with technology and video games. Of course you deal with technology every day. What I'm talking about, what I'm referring to, is my day job, my Clark Kent job, as opposed to my Superman job. So, on my day-to-day basis, I deal with people and I deal with their technology, meaning that I deal with their choices considering their technology. Now, the choices that people make for technology are usually either underinformed or misinformed. And this is just coming from the fact that they don't know, or they don't care, they don't take the time to do their research, because not everyone is as technologically gifted as techies are, or as the people that watch this, or as I am, or as any of my friends are, or anybody else that I work with. And that is of no fault of anyone. It's just that's how they've chosen to live their life. They focus on whatever their job is, so they focus on their family, or whatever their choice is, and that's all well and good. They just don't focus on technology like I or any of my coworkers do. Fine. That's why we're in business. So one of the choices that a lot of people have to make when it comes to computing, and whether that is, just a daily PC or an enthusiast PC or whatever your usage is, one of the things you have to do eventually is pick or use a web browser. Now, most common PC users will use whatever comes with their computer, which 9 times out of 10, if it's a Windows computer, it's going to ship with Internet Explorer, which pains me to say, but anybody that knows anything about the PC world knows that Internet Explorer is garbage. Now, with the the impending release of the Spartan project from Microsoft, or their Spartan browser, that should hopefully put the dark days of Internet Explorer behind them so they can stop beating that dead horse. Now, that being said, there are the big three, putting Microsoft aside, are the big three when it comes to web browsing. That is Chrome from Google, Firefox from Mozilla, and Opera. Now, Opera is going to be important to this video today, but Opera also is important in the fact that it has always been that side note browser, or that secondary backup plan B that you have if your main browser fails. Now, on the machine that I'm on right now, I only have Firefox installed, and that's due to customizability and performance. Chrome is wonderful. I run it on a lot of mobile devices, and I run it on a couple other machines that I have at the house. However, it is a very big resource hog, and with the amount of other things that I do on this machine, even though this is one of the more powerful machines I own, it is just too much of a resource hog for what I want to do. So therefore I don't have it installed. Nothing against Chrome, that's just how it is. Now, the browser that we're looking at today, and the reason I'm bringing all this up, is the browser is called Vivaldi, and what you're looking at right here, as you can tell by the giant logo in the middle of the screen. Now, Vivaldi is made by, it is an offshoot made by a few of the software engineers from Opera. Now, Opera, as a web browser, like I said, has always been the plan B. However, it is also a very friendly operating system for Linux users. Now, I'm not going to get into depth on Linux and the differences and all of that, because that's for a completely different video, and more of a video series, I should say. But it's been very, very kind to its users. However, it does have a terrible memory allocation set up and does not have the world's best optimization. So, the software designers came out and decided to say, well, let's take that idea and mix it with a little graphical design, and they came up with what you're looking at, which is called Vivaldi. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this, and the first test we're going to see if it supports the full screen mode. And it does. Fantastic. Now, the issue with full screen mode that I can already show you here is full screen mode is very, very lacking of a couple of things, as you can see. Now, this is the stock homepage that you get when you download the Vivaldi Tech Preview. And I will leave a link in the description where you can go and download it absolutely free. Don't need an invitation, nothing. You just go and you get it, you download it, and you're good to go. Now, keep in mind, I'm going to go ahead and take it out of full screen. Keep in mind, it is a tech preview, which means that you are going to experience some issues, and there are a lot of features that are lacking. Now, as a browser, Vivaldi fulfills a lot of things that its users want, which is a fast interface. Vivaldi's not slow. It's a very fast web browser. It's fast interface, clean interface, while still having some very neat features. Has a very artistic design, as you can tell, very simplistic icons, and what I love is how they do the tabs. Now, even though I have tabbed stacking enabled on my display that I'm using, it's going to be a couple more tabs before I start to have to stack it, which is basically when they start to lay tabs on top of each other, which if you're used to Chrome or Firefox, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Next, I want to show you where I start to have some issues with Vivaldi. Now, the button here, the Vivaldi, when you lay it over, it says menu. Bringing that up, actually, for my display right now, brings the tools and the settings tab and all that out of the screen, and then to be able to select the tabs. So I can't actually show you what that button looks like. So the optimization for dual screen or for multi-screen is not the best, but like I said, it's still in infant stages basically. So when you come into the settings, you'll see a lot of things that you're probably used to, and one of that is the default browser. So obviously Vivaldi is not my default browser, and it's not going to be. However, if you want it to be your default browser, then you have the option. You also have the option here to check on startup, another nifty feature, especially to help make sure your PC is running the way you want. Now, side note, Vivaldi is available right now, I believe, across the board for all three: Apple, Windows, and Linux. I know Windows and Linux, but I'm not 100% on the Apple. Now, the homepage option here was a bit of a sore subject for me until about a week or so ago when they fixed it. So there is updates coming for these things, for this browser. Is just kind of slow. But for a while, the homepage button, no matter what I set it to, would automatically default back to Vivaldi. So it just flat out wouldn't work. But since then, I can set anything else I want into here: YouTube, Twitter, LO, whatever I want in here, and it will stick. Speaking of LO, little side note here, that's actually how I found out about this browser, is actually about this whole process and setup and company and browser, is the social network LO that I'm subscribed to. I did a video on them on my channel as well, and I'll leave a link to that in the description, and I might even put an annotation on the screen. Oh man, getting fancy. That, and because of that, and because this browser is set for to be graphically appealing as well as to be fast, and it made its way onto LO, and I know a couple other people on there that use it, but I noticed when I went onto YouTube and I went around hunting, there's not a lot of videos describing what Vivaldi is, so I decided I'll step out and actually make one. I have a YouTube channel, I'll do some good for the community and make a video for the first time in a while. But anyways, moving on, we have the tabs section, as you can see here, where this says tabs. It says tabs position, top, left side, right side, bottom, and none. Now, the thing with this is kind of cool. The top is what you're used to, as you can see here. Bottom moves it down here, which is an interesting notion, and actually I might start using if Vivaldi gets more off the ground and gets to have the features that I'm looking for. And we'll talk about where it's still lacking here in a second. I might actually start doing this because I kind of like the bottom orientation a little bit. Take that how you want it. So left side and right side actually offer an interesting notion. Left side and right side tabs actually give you a visual representation of each one of your tabs. Now, if you notice, if you're on top or bottom, it will actually show you if you hover, but having left or right sided actually has a representation there to look at. None as a final option actually shows you, it gives you none, and it's keyboard navigation. So just an interesting options there, and keyboard navigation we'll get to in a second. So you have your tab tooltips, which is your hover over options, and you have color tabs. Now, something I didn't talk about originally that I was going to, you have the option in this to have each tab get its own color to help you kind of keep track. Now, supposedly in one of the forthcoming updates, you are able to actually give specific websites specific colors, but as of right now that feature is not available. However, hopefully in the future it will be. Now, where it says tab cycling order, you can have it in tab order, which is you're able to rearrange it how you feel, and as you open it, each one will be stacked to the right. You have your second option, which is recently used. I can talk, I swear. You have your recently used tab cycling order, which is basically it reorders your tabs by usage. So moving on, panels, which is something I'm going to show you here in 1 second after I talk about it. Panel position, left side and right side. So it moves it over to there or over to there. Now what you're looking at is this bar right here. So what this does is it pulls out your tabs, and it also gets rid of the settings thing. But what the tabs, what your panel is, I should say, is you have your bookmarks panel, you have your notes panel, your downloads panel, your contacts panel, and your mail panel. Vivaldi mail is not out yet, but it is soon coming. So it's just taking its time and they're trying to make sure they have everything correct, which is cool. I like that. So that's your panels. It's kind of takes a lot of your like icons that would usually sit over here in Firefox and Chrome and moves it into a nice hideable panel, which is kind of cool. Bringing these back up again, the settings. So that allows you to put on the left and right side. Pretty cool. And the show panel toggle is basically turns that arrow on and off. So, you know, pretty cool, I think. So moving on, language is really just allowing you to choose your language. Obviously, certain graphical things have to be done here. It cuts off the text a little bit. No biggie. You have Czech, German, English, French, Icelandic, Japanese, Norwegian, Russian, Swedish, and Turkish. That's your options. I go with English because obviously I speak English, and you can hit save language. It says please try your browser for the changes take effect. Cool, fine, whatever. Menus. Now you have the horizontal menu and the Vivaldi button. Now, like that little text box mentioned earlier, some changes require you to restart your browser, and the menu type is one of them. The horizontal menu, which I'm not going to restart it for this video to show you, but the horizontal menu does in fact give you your old school, what you're used to, all the things at the top where it says file and edit and all the things like that. That's what the horizontal menu gives you, or the Vivaldi button is what you're looking at right there. So search engine's pretty straightforward as well. You have your selection here: Google, Amazon, Wikipedia, eBay, DuckDuckGo, which is a very good secure search engine. Start Page, which is another pretty decent search engine, and Wolfram Alpha, which is a math search engine, because why not? So you can set whatever it is as your default. You can delete it to have, I believe, no search engine or to start over. You can also add your own custom search engine, whether it's Yahoo, Hotbot, whatever it is you want to use. You give a description, keyword, all that mess, and you set it as default. Network proxies. If you use proxies, you know how this works. If you don't, it's no big deal. But it does, however, feed from your actual Microsoft options. So there's that. Privacy is where I start to get a frowny face. I do not like a non-private browser. I'm very big for internet privacy, very big for internet anonymity, which I know sounds really stupid saying that because I'm on YouTube and I have all the social networks, but my server and all my home networking for my actual internet access, on the other hand, is pretty robust, and I'm kind of proud of it. So I take internet privacy to a certain degree very well, which is also one reason why I no longer use Facebook. So you have your third-party cookies as well. You have your accept cookies and your cookie and data exceptions. This right here really only becomes an option if you click this, and it still doesn't even work half the time. So you have accept cookies for all, session only, and never. I don't like this option because I like to have more like this, where you're able to filter and you're able to select and give certain areas permission. However, in this, you cannot give certain ones permission. You can only go in and delete them, which in all honesty doesn't really do much. And you have your passwords for no saved passwords found, obviously, because I'm not going to give anything to a technical preview of a browser. And then you have mouse and keyboard, which is kind of cool because here's your keyboard navigation for what we mentioned earlier. So you can go and give everything, your own selections. I don't really use keyboard navigation all too much. I know it can be faster for some people, but I've got a pretty nice mouse so I can keep up. Aside from that, that's all the settings you get. One setting that is missing that I really, really dislike not having, and it's for all the usual reasons, and for every internet user, they understand what I'm getting at, is you have no true way to manage your history on this browser. There isn't one that I have found. If you use this browser, know how, leave a comment below that explains it, but I haven't found an access to the browser history. Also, the browser does not go, or there is no setting for it to go to a blank page whenever it loads or go to your home page. It goes to whatever your last viewed page was. So that's another big gripe that I have. Now, let's show you some actual performance here before we get too far gone. So let's try a couple here. Let's try YouTube. Big shocker there, right? So YouTube, so like I said, it's a pretty fast browser, and I'm running on a pretty crappy internet. I have 15 down, 2 up from AT&T, and I think that's because AT&T hates me. But it's actually not too terrible of a connection, and I mean, obviously I'd rather have crappy internet than no internet, but it could be better. The one thing I do not like with this is I have signed into YouTube every single time I've come onto Vivaldi, and every single time I have to re-sign in, and it's quite aggravating for the times that I've actually used Vivaldi. So my question is, in your history and memory management, why have it keep whatever page you were on when you last closed it and not use that to save passwords? I'm lost. But anyways, let's check a couple other websites, and at the same time we can use this to test its ability to manage each tab. Now, I did notice the benchmarking. I've already done the benchmarking personally, but I want to do it for the video. I did notice though that each tab, unlike Chrome and Firefox with pipelining enabled, they are not single connections. Vivaldi actually, and I've used the network manager to check this, actually splits up the one connection to all of these instead of making a single connection per tab, which I may at a later date make a video on pipelining when I do some more research. But until then, it's kind of really annoying. So let's do a couple more here. Like I see, certain sites load better than others. Weather.com is usually kind of a more aggressive site, but YouTube is pretty content heavy. Twitter, not so much. And who else should we check? Steam, why not? Is it Steam.com? No, not Steam.com. Wrong. Let's try this real quick. If I just, okay. So, Steam powered. Okay, well, let's check this. So, aside from a little mishap, let's show you, it is a very fast browser. And it's quite a good looking browser in the most part. But, like I've mentioned, it is not the best when it comes to features. Now, this is, speaking about features, this is a cool little tidbit. They have speed dial, which if you use any other modern browser, you're used to it. It's basically quick access to your bookmarks and favorite websites. Now, this here, history, it is an option and you can bring it up. And wow, this has actually been changed. Cool, so you can actually now access your history. Oh, we learned something new today. A little bit, last time this wasn't an option, but apparently this is. That's cool. So it seems Vivaldi is actually basing off the Chrome engine for web browsing, which is really different. Actually, that's cool. Alright, so we both learned something new in this setting here. So there you go. That's basically it. That's Vivaldi. We'll go back to the homepage here. And so I love how their homepage actually takes longer to load than YouTube does. But the only thing I'm going to mention is the trash can here actually allows you, okay, I take that back. Trash can doesn't work. Okay, cool. So with the trash can not working, it seems to be that with every update, they get new things that work and they have things that don't. So it's just a balancing game that they have to figure out. But aside from that, Vivaldi's the name of the browser. I'll leave a link in the description where you can get it. It's kind of nifty if you want to check it out. It looks good, especially on full screen, if they can fix it. But on big screen displays, it looks really nice. And until next time, this is the facial hair, and I hope you have a wonderful day.